अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम बैक टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ हैप्पी चिर्प। आज मेरे साथ हैं सैयदा यमुना हसनी। अस्सलाम वालेकुम, हाउ आर यू?
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sure sitting behind a camera and speaking is not something new for you.
Well, sitting in front of the mic is not new.
Yeah, that's true. Camera is new.
Camera is new.
Basically, she is a radio host.
Yes.
Which is why she's very comfortable speaking in a mic. Actually, जब हम mic test कर रहे थे ना, so you're one of the very few people जिनकी start से ही आवाज़ बिल्कुल ठीक आ रही थी इसके अंदर, which shows your experience.
I'm glad that the training has paid off.
With the mic. But Yamna, I would like for you to introduce yourself a bit more. That's not the only thing you do or have done, and you have had, I think, a long journey. So can you tell us a bit about yourself? And then we'll start your journey from the start. But how would you like to introduce yourself right now?
All right. So, yes, I am a radio broadcaster. I'm an RJ, radio host. I work for Radio Pakistan on FM 101. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years. So that's one identity that I have. The other identity is that I work in the development sector as a consultant. And it's also been 10 years working on human rights, health, and gender issues. What else? And these days, I have a new identity. I have morphed into a trainer.
Acha.
It's my communications has always been my passion. So combined with communication and leadership, I am now a trainer for both these subjects. I like to mentor women and men. Mostly it has been women, but I think we're going to have to include men as well. They need it, and it's all about inclusive society.
Right.
And even trans people. So that's we can't ignore those people or that segment of society. So coming back, the other hat that I would like to wear from the future is a trainer. Another hat, so many hats now. The fourth hat would be of a researcher, because I am a researcher at heart. In the development sector, we generally tend to do program management, project management, lots of meetings, consultations, focus group discussions. But I've realized that I'm also a researcher. I love to ask questions. लोग बहुत तंग होते हैं और वो कहते हैं कि प्लीज़ आप चुप हो जाएं. But I'm like, देखें, I am not a mind reader. I don't know what you're thinking. So I have to ask questions. Either you give me the complete information or I'm just going to have to dig out like a researcher. So that's my fourth identity. I would like to do research more on health, communications and health preferably.
Right.
And that's something I would like to explore.
अच्छा, so आपने भी बाज की बीच में ट्रेनिंग की, right? So what sort of training is that?
So it's mostly around communications, which is about verbal communication mostly, and then on leadership, and which means personal leadership, or uske andar goal setting, self-awareness, knowing yourself, the art of negotiation. तो एक बहुत अच्छा program है. It's called the Girl for Girl Pakistan program. It's a Harvard University leadership program. It was started by these alumni of Harvard University. They wanted to give back, and they decided कि पाकिस्तान में भी वो कुछ करना चाहती हैं ख़वातीन के लिए. So I became a part of that program. It's a free program. The whole idea is कि हम ख़वातीन को, young professionals, students को mentor करेंगे. So it's not just training, it's mentoring, which is more focused one-on-one.
Right.
और उसमें interestingly we play lots of activities, and yes, कुछ case studies हैं, but the focus is to know that person. और लोग कहते हैं आपकी क्या expectations हैं, और हम कहते हैं हमारी कोई expectations नहीं है, आपने expectations खुद set करनी है. So that's very interesting. I'm a people's person. I like meeting people. I feed off the energy. So I think this was a very right fit for me to explore this new side of the world, new side of my skills, because, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm learning new things. I can't say I'm the best trainer of communications or leadership. There's so much happening. So I'm learning and growing and helping other people grow.
Helping other people grow. Yeah. Right. So अब आप इस पॉइंट पे पहुंची हैं, एंड 10 साल से आप ये सारी चीज़ें कर रही हैं. And that's a lot of time in itself. But where did it all begin? Were you born and raised here in Islamabad? Where are you from?
I am from Islamabad.
अच्छा, ठीक है, यहीं पे आप
बिल्कुल.
तो आपकी अर्ली एजुकेशन कहाँ से थी?
Beacon House, Islamabad.
BMI.
Exactly. BMI Islamabad campus from pre-nursery to O-levels.
अच्छा.
And I think I'm very lucky. My parents selected a really good school. They worked hard to send me to a good school. I am very blessed because I think my confidence, it was nurtured over there. So I think natural talent भी है. Now I have recognized, yes, I have that spark. और फिर I got an enabling environment. So school में मैं हमेशा debates और dramatics में होती थी. उसमें debates में declamation, parliamentary style, you know, those old-fashioned speeches. I was there in the forefront. I was interested in poetry recitation.
Acha.
I remember very distinctly in class 2 standing up on stage and reciting a poem that my grandmother had taught me. And I have to say, my grandmother, she was an educationist. तो उन्होंने मेरी early education
अच्छा.
को काफ़ी संभाला, and she would teach me when I would come from school. She would teach me homework, and she was interested in studying. I was interested in studying as well. It was the perfect combination. So I think that's where the talent began, and I loved being in front of the mic. Put me in front of a mic, and I will quickly, instinctively, I will know what to say. कोई topic अगर मुझे नहीं भी आता, I'd be like, okay, you know what, I can crack this.
Yeah, like and what I'm getting is कि एक तो होता है ना कि अच्छा खुद बोलना किसी चीज़ के बारे में या recite करना और you know, but what I've noticed in this little bit of conversation जो अभी तक हुई है कि if अगर आपको किसी चीज़ के बारे में understanding नहीं है, you will ask the right questions
Exactly.
to understand it. Like I think there is an inherent curiosity.
Yes.
to learn.
Yes.
For knowledge.
To learn, to experience life. And see, communications या लोग पूछते हैं आपने कैसे सीखा? Obviously experience. जब आप इतनी दफ़ा speeches देते हैं, there's some good moments, bad moments you learn. मैं हमेशा first नहीं आती थी, फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता third position, honorary position and third, 2-1. So it took time, but it gave me the confidence. I also realized that, at that moment of time, if people laugh and if I make mistakes, they'll forget. और मैं यही कहती हूँ, the beauty of this is कि we have short-term memories. So if you make a mistake, it's fine, move on, लोग भी भूल जाएंगे. So lots of lessons in my childhood and public speaking. खुद भी talent था, लेकिन you need to practice. I always say, if you want to speak well, you should listen well.
Yeah.
तो उस ज़माने में NTN एक चैनल होता था. There was PTV and there was NTN. Yes, so
I remember now.
Yeah, और उस दर NTN पर BBC और CNN आते थे उनकी transmission for 3 hours. 9 to 12 or something like that. And 9 to 12, I would actually be glued to CNN and BBC, and I would listen to journalists covering war or other stories. And I really wanted to be a journalist. That was the dream, and it still is. And who knows, I might pivot. I surprise myself all the time. So I learned I learned from their voices, how they present themselves, content kaisa. And initially it was the voice and expressions. And then us zamane mein, so I'm really old as well, not that old, but we had the British Council Library in Islamabad. And they had audio books. So cassette tape mein, I would listen to books. And that was really helpful because I could identify the word with the sound. मैं पढ़ भी रही हूँ book, लेकिन मैं सुन भी रही हूँ. And I think that really helped because my grandmother made me do this for, the initial 12 years of my life. So I'm very attuned to sounds. And I work at Radio Pakistan, so I'm an RJ. We predominantly play music. मुझे music का शौक अभी हुआ है, पहले नहीं था. I went honestly for the radio to hear my voice. So it's very interesting. It's you could say I'm very narcissistic because I like my voice. So मैंने कहा अच्छा नहीं मेरे लिए शो होगा. But I thought, okay, I had a nice voice, so I'm going to enjoy. It was for my own pleasure initially. And again, music भी चलाना होता है. I had no idea कि top charts, billboards क्या है. वो सीख लिया. Internet पर है. It's not rocket science. But then over the years, I'm very attuned to patterns and beats in the sounds and how a song is set. So I can quickly kind of even figure out कि अच्छा chorus में ये है, pattern में. It's all about the sound. It's the game of the sound.
Very interesting. Right. तो आपने फिर A-levels तक किया?
मैं O-levels में थी.
अच्छा.
And I was there till O-levels, had lovely friends. That age is very innocent, or we were all girls क्योंकि उस ज़माने में कोएड नहीं था. I don't know अब कोएड है या नहीं
है. अभी भी उनका I think class 6 से लेके O-levels तक separate है. जैसे उस टाइम पे था. मैंने भी वहाँ से 6th grade किया.
Oh lovely. Okay. Illuminati. Okay. We connect.
But I only did 6th grade. That's
still fine. We'll accept you.
But my husband did got his education from there. My brother got his education from there. Yeah, and it is a really good school, and I would say that because शायद उस टाइम पर फील नहीं हुआ, बट मैंने इतने ज़्यादा लोगों से मिली हूँ अभी जो ज़िंदगी में बहुत कुछ कर रही हैं और आप उनसे पूछें कि उन्होंने कहाँ से पढ़ा है, सो BMI इज़ अ वेरी कॉमन आंसर दैट आई गेट इन अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल, एंड it's amazing to see कि all of these people, it's not about whether they've achieved something in life, but they're like you said कि घर की environment और घर की enabling environment उन चीज़ों से फ़र्क पड़ता है और आपके उससे भी. But I do think there is something about that school.
Yeah.
क्योंकि all those kids who have studied from there, they are visionaries in their own whatever capacity. And तो वो एक जो चीज़ है, the kind of human beings that they turn out, there is something about them.
So I'm very grateful that my parents sent me, and I got really nice teachers. And my class fellows were very nice. All girls were very competitive. So it's very interesting when you study with all girls. It was all about who gets the highest marks. और किसी को 19.5 out of 20 भी आ जाए
2.5
रोना धोना. It was quite we were, but I think that competitive environment really fueled us to grow further, because all my class fellows have done great things, अच्छी जगह वो पढ़े, they got scholarships, and we're also very supportive of each other, because now we're in our late 30s and we're in different stage of life. We've done education check, we're in different stages of career, and some mothers, so different stages again of their identity, but we're very supportive, and I like that support from my friends. I think that also helped me, they were always very encouraging. And they knew कि यमुना अभी क्लास में नहीं है क्योंकि वो डिबेट्स करने गई है, although कोई आता नहीं था मुझे सुनने के लिए, but they're like, okay, you know what, she's there.
That's nice. Right. And then where did you go for A-levels and your university?
I did my FSC.
Achha, you did your FSC.
I went from Beacon House to this women's college, federal government college for women, F72. It's where, there are two options, either ICG or F72. So my mom's a doctor, so I was like, okay, I have to be a doctor, and that was
डॉक्टर बनना था. हाँ, मैंने पूछा, my next question was, अच्छा आपने बनना क्या था?
मैं डॉक्टर बनना था, but somehow things happened, and I think, well, I'll be honest, अच्छे marks इतने नहीं थे. It was very competitive. Let's be honest, you know what? It's been many years. I have to get over it now. And so have my parents. Sometimes they do say, you know what? If you would become a doctor, I was like, okay, mom, you're never happy with what I achieve. Anyway, so I did pre-med, and then pre-med के बाद again, what to do, and I jumped on the CS bandwagon.
अच्छा, हाँ, वो भी I think बहुत लोगों के साथ होता है.
And so suddenly मैं pre-med में थी, मैंने maths नहीं पढ़ा हुआ था. Suddenly in CS, so I was in ComSats, where all the engineers, the telecom, the computer engineers, the CS students, हम सारे 2 साल मैथ्स बहुत पढ़ते हैं. इंटीग्रेशन, डिफरेंशिएशन, न्यूमेरिकल कंप्यूटेशन, डिस्क्रीट मैथमेटिक्स. सो आई डिडंट नो कि ये क्या है. फिर मैंने एक समर ट्यूशन भी ले ली. आई वाज लाइक, आई नीड टू रियली प्रिपेयर माई सेल्फ. बट आई रियली लव्ड मैथ्स, एंड आई एंजॉयड दैट लॉजिकल थिंकिंग. आई फाइंड मैथ्स वेरी पीसफुल. आई रियलाइज कि आप मूवी भी देख सकते हैं, यू कैन सॉल्व दोज long boring equations, and I was really bad at programming, but I was good in all the other subjects, like programming के अलावा, जिसमें English अच्छी होती थी, have to write or give comprehensive answers, which now is very ironic, because you should be ideally a good, or I was an average programmer, but I realized that if I have to continue in CS, I could probably go into computer marketing or do something like content writing, in those journeys. So at that time, I did also go through an identity crisis. And I realized कि मुझसे नहीं होगा. So I don't know what am I doing for 4 years. I was also afraid, and I should have owned up, and life could be perhaps different if I could have taken a stand and said कि नहीं, after 1 semester or 2, maybe I should do something else. But I was like, nahin, okay, Yamuna, you are not a quitter, and you have to see this through. I was like, okay, I'll see this through. And I did see this through. And after that, I decided कि bachelor's हो गया, a master's कर लेते.
अच्छा.
And I worked after CS. I worked.
Was that your first job?
That was my first job. I got 13,000 rupees. I was in an organization that was a franchisee of Dell and Microsoft.
अच्छा.
So I was the product manager भी बना दिया. And I was like, oh, manager, great. And I did 1 year of that. Good experience. उसमें भी was about communication, pitching the product to the clients. No rocket science, but it was related to my field a bit. I learned on the go, and then I realized, अच्छा bachelor's हो गया, master's कर लेते. You know what? Then I went to Bahria University, Islamabad, did my MBA. and I had a
Acha.
choice to do human resource or management or marketing person. So I'm a people's person, but I'm also an ideas person. I always have ideas, and I mean, some of them are not bad. So I had a choice. And then because I like people, and I was like, okay, we need to give people fair chances of jobs. And I was like, my inner activist voice rose up, and I was like, मैं HR में करूँगी, and I'll make a difference. And I'll be that person जो कि सिफारिश accept नहीं करेगी, और मैं proper,
fairness.
Look at the person and the skill, and not के किसने recommend किया. So I did human resource management, and I enjoyed MBA. Trust me, MBA was a piece of cake.
Acha.
After CS, I was like, ये तो बिल्कुल opposite है, because everyone's having fun, and it was also very case study oriented presentations. I love presenting. It was like, okay, this is made for me. और पढ़ा भी, enjoy भी किया. Again, good teachers, debates.
वहाँ पे भी की.
बिल्कुल वहाँ पे भी की. Our team from Berry University, we were the first ones to go to Harvard
अच्छा.
MUN. Yeah,
अच्छा.
exactly.
How nice.
हाँ, उसकी भी बहुत interesting story है कि we
अच्छा.
had these rounds of competitions and through eliminations, and I was like the reserve. So they said कि यमुना आप reserve में, and I was like, oh, I'm disappointed, but अच्छा ठीक है. I wanted to go, obviously, but somehow I think one person couldn't go, and my name came up.
Oh.
And I went to Harvard MUN. उससे पहले हम Lumen भी गए. I won the best delegate in my category. I mean, WHO was my organization at that
what you
time.
represent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So went twice to Lumen. एक दफ़ा हम बांग्लादेश बने, एक दफ़ा स्वाजीलैंड बने, and then HNMUN, went to Boston, had a good time. It was my first experience being out of the country, so वो जैसे मेंढक नहीं होता, like wow. And we had so many pictures with trees, with God knows everything, and now
So fancy.
Exactly.
This tree is so fancy.
airport पे pictures ले रहे. Well, it was all good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, good memories, debates, dramatics, and again, enabling environment, encouraging creative environment. And I had this thing that even if my class fellows weren't interested, I would be interested. And I had friends who were not even in my class. So I made a point कि मैंने सबसे बात करनी है. I don't need to stick to my class or my group. I have to meet anyone who's interesting. And through the Debates and Dramatics Club, I met very interesting people.
Like you were, interesting. You like to know people and you like to learn from them.
Yeah.
Right? This I've gotten this about you from here as well. Acha. So and then did you do a job after that?
Oh yeah. So after HR, I was like, मैंने तो जाना है corporate side में.
हाँ ठीक है.
Telenor, PTC, Pakistan Tobacco Company. You know what? These were the goals. But I ended up at.
And I think Islamabad में यही दो organizations थी main corporate में जिनमें गुजारा. The dream.
The dream ये था. But I ended up with Plan International. It's an INGO, and they work on livelihood and gender, minorities, women rights, youth. So I started as an intern there. And the funny thing about how I got a job was no one was giving me a job. जबकि मेरा बहुत अच्छा GPA था. I was confident. And I had really good interviews. But sometimes good interviews don't turn into a job. So I was very upset. मेरे सारे class fellows को मिल रही थी. मैंने कहा मुझे क्यों नहीं मिल रही? And then I said, okay, Yamna, you have to go and hustle yourself. I literally rang the doorbell of a home, which I knew was an office. And I didn't know what Plan International was, what is the development sector. Guard ने कहा जी आप नहीं जा सकती. मैंने कहा अच्छा ठीक है, ये मेरा CV आप अंदर दे दें या आप मेरी HR मैनेजर से बात करवा दें. उसने कहा अच्छा जी मैं HR मैनेजर से बात करवा. मैंने कहा ठीक है. And I
wow, what a go-getter move.
Yeah.
Even I just ring the doorbell. Wow, no, that's good.
I was like
pretty cool.
Now in hindsight, I think it was meant to be. The steps took me into a very different direction. It had to happen.
एक दफ़ा मेरी पॉडकास्ट में कोई लड़की आई थी and she said कि there were so many things जो आप उसमें देखते हो ना कि what a naive thing to do, like कि क्या, but those naive moments,
they're leading up to something.
Yeah, and sometimes they can be like
exactly life changing.
That moment, life changing. So I think this is one of those moves where it's very naive to just go and ring the bell. Like you wouldn't expect कि अच्छा कुछ होगा. Like there's a proper way of doing stuff and what is this, but Like
this
you said.
happened.
Yeah.
So her name is Akila, HR manager. She used to be there. And I said कि जी मैंने graduate किया है, मैंने HR में किया, I'm looking for an internship or a job. So I would be happy if you have any opportunities. And then she said कि जी हमें intern की ज़रूरत है. We need someone who can take the CVs and make a database. I was like, okay, I'll do
यही
it.
कर लेंगे.
हाँ मैंने कहा ठीक है. And I stayed there for a year. And it was really good time because मैंने सिर्फ HR नहीं किया. Because I was curious, so मेरे साथ और teams भी बैठती थी. So I became a volunteer for the youth program. मैं हर एक से पूछती थी, okay, what's going on? What are you doing? Any interesting projects? And then they included me in other things. You know, organize कर लो workshop, consultative meeting on ECCD, early childhood care education. तो मुझे पता नहीं था वैसे कि बहुत interesting है. And that's where I realized that, you know, this is the place for me. I want to be in the development sector. I can do this job. I like to be involved with different projects. आप लोगों से भी मिल रहे हैं, नए ideas हैं और मुझे क्या चाहिए. It's like a very good alignment for what I can do. So from HR, I
Got into the development sector.
Yes, and from there, Plan International, I moved to my first job in the development sector. It was in training and development, and then it led to me going in the project, which was on women's rights and health. Again, I had no idea, but I'm quick to learn, and if you know how to learn, you can learn anything. And I think that's another aspect कि मैंने climate change पे भी काम किया, मैंने police and justice का भी program किया, human rights पे भी काम किया, and that just took me to this world of project management, program management, research. और इस industry में, I'm sure अब हर industry में networking बहुत है. You get to meet people. As NGOs, you're always pitching idea to the donor, to other partners. So that also kind of fit in. That journey led me to my second master's.
I was going to say कि Australia से then you did a second master's,
yes,
right?
public policy and governance
Right.
में.
Then it made more sense to do that.
Exactly, because I realized कि मैंने यही करना है. And I think it's time that I venture out. And I went to Australian National University.
इसी काम को थोड़ा सा academic कर दिया जाए.
बिल्कुल. I thought कि नहीं अब बहुत अरसा हो गया and it's a good experience. I should get out of the country.
Yeah, learn.
Yeah, expand my horizon,
Right.
see what's out there. So this was a very good fit. I got the Australian Award Scholarship. मुझे पहली दफ़ा नहीं मिला. मैंने second time फिर apply किया and I got it.
That's good.
Yeah, so the point is that keep applying and do things in a better way. Learn from your mistakes. And I did better. That's why I think I got selected. फिर मुझे नहीं I didn't believe them, so I
And
said,
don't be afraid to ring the doorbell.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then I realized another thing. My skill is to meet people directly. So I do know LinkedIn ka zamana hai. You follow people on Facebook, Insta, they work. But for me, just picking up the phone and calling a person directly or just coming on their doorstep, I think I like doing that because people are not expecting you and they're not prepared. फिर उनको बुरा लगता है कि जी आप आ गए, so they don't go to say no. Sometimes, you know, they let you in and that's where you make your mark, find that opportunity. And that formula has worked for me.
Okay, so and since then you have been working in the development sector
Exactly.
with like different NGOs, lots of organizations. So आपका बहुत सारा काम जो है, it has to do with in your profile I read that there's work on women rights and then there is reproductive health. So a lot of these things that are women related. But I know that you feel very strongly about working women and you have an opinion on that, and then inclusivity and all of these things, right? So what are some of the thoughts that you would like to share on that through your learning or whatever?
So talking about working women in Pakistan,
let's start with that.
So again, it's everyone's choice. I think I can't force anyone to work and no one should be forced to. I'm a great believer of free will.
Freedom and
If you want to and circumstances allow and you have opportunities, go for it. And if you don't have the opportunities, then you either create those opportunities and then there's a plan B for that.
Right.
Like if you don't have the opportunities, what do you do? And you still have to have a plan and hustle. So I do understand economic crisis is here. Livelihood is an adult reality. सब पैसे कमा रहे हैं क्योंकि उन्हें घर चलाना है. I get that completely. So half of us are working for that, which isn't a bad thing. It's पूरी दुनिया में लोग काम करते हैं. it's not something new and novel.
राइट
So-
सर्वाइवल के लिए भी होता है ना
बिल्कुल survive. Yeah, that's exactly. So if that is your thing,
Reason, yeah.
yeah, fine, go ahead. If you want to contribute, or even if you're bored and you're like, I want to do something different and step out of my comfort zone, that's perfectly fine as well. So I say all the more power to women who want to work from home, who want to work remotely, who want to run independent businesses, who want to do freelancing, consulting. Find your niche and do something with your life. Have that other identity. So yeah, that's what I'm going to start off with. That you need to, but in order to do that, you need to know yourself.
Right. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Means having a conversation with yourself. Know what your-
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness, yes.
बिल्कुल.
Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you know what your strengths are, play to your strengths, capitalize on that.
Yeah.
If you have a weakness, find some good resources, tools, mentors. You can overcome those weaknesses. Like you have to have the ability to learn.
Right. And I think one of the thing is important here is कि औरतों के साथ का ये भी बहुत ज़्यादा एक एटीट्यूड है जनरली कि they don't feel the need to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And obviously they will invest in, जो आपने get to know yourself वाली बात की वो बड़ी अच्छी है, because you only know how to invest in yourself when you first know who you are.
Exactly.
Right? And where and what are the areas you would, जैसे हमने strengths की बात की, so a lot of the times आपके पास बहुत सारी strengths होती हैं, but you have never sat down and thought about
Exactly.
your strengths, right?
Yeah.
And then they are there, but if you know and understand them, then you can invest in yourself in ways to polish those strengths.
Exactly.
And make something out of it.
Yeah.
And then eventually create the opportunity that you are talking about.
Exactly.
Right? Because I think unless you identify that, automatically an opportunity is not going
Of
to
course.
land on
Yeah.
your lap
Doorstep, yeah.
or on your doorstep,
Yeah.
in your lap or on your doorstep, So it really does start with getting to know
Exactly.
yourself.
Who are you as a person? What are your values? Where do you see yourself
In fact, the free will thing is something you don't even know what your free will is until you know who you are.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the times होता है ना कि वो बस एक noise है. You're in a rut or in a noise where you're just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Unless you sit with yourself and you really think about कि आप कौन हो, आप क्या करना चाहते हो, आपकी आइडेंटिटी क्या है, उसके बेसिस पे होगी आपकी फ्री विल कि आप अपनी ज़िंदगी के साथ एक्चुअली में करना क्या चाहते हो.
That's true.
If somebody is constantly telling you,
Exactly. Negative voices, toxic voices around you that you're not good enough or you can't do that.
yeah, or somebody's constantly telling you how you are supposed to live your life,
Yeah.
then you don't really, आपको पता ही नहीं आपकी free will है क्या, let alone go with it.
And I think I'm lucky, you're lucky. There are people who are very privileged.
Yes.
We have that right of free will. We know what that is. And we have gotten it, or we have fought over it, or we're now in a state where we do not need permission.
Right.
Or we have claimed our voice. But there are many who are not in that position. For instance, मैं एक इदारा है अख्तर हमीद खान रिसोर्स सेंटर, वो ढोक हस्सू में अर्बन स्लम्स की ख़वातीन के साथ.
You work with them.
I used to work with them.
work with them. Okay.
हम हेल्थ एजुकेशन इकोनॉमिक लाइवलीहुड इस पर बात करते थे और काम करते थे. सो व्हेन आई वुड विजिट वुमेन एंड आई वुड टॉक टू देम, माय आइडियाज़ वर ऑल अबाउट, ओके आपने मैट्रिक किया है, आप FSC कर लें, आप अल्लामा इकबाल में हम आपको एडमिशन दिला देते हैं, यू वांट टू रिसीव एजुकेशन, आर यू इंटरेस्टेड इन एजुकेशन. सो it's a very different world from where I live, and I had to then understand the local context and this idea of free will कि वहाँ लड़कियों के पास विल नहीं है, इजाज़त नहीं है कि वो TV देख लें या मोबाइल रखें, या दिस आइडिया कि वो स्कूल जाएं, यानी someone else is making decisions for them.
बिल्कुल.
Even about their bodies, about their health choices, they don't have that control. So it's very heterogeneous, looking at the spectrum, it's very divergent, that there's one set of Pakistani women who have opportunities, and there's one on the total opposite spectrum who don't even know that free will. अभी तो हमने free will जानने की बात की है कि उसको जानने का भी एक process है. So I learned a lot from that experience of women identity and their role, कि why are women working. वहाँ भी again survival, livelihood, उनके मसले ये हैं कि हमें इजाज़त नहीं है क्योंकि जी लोग छेड़ते हैं, ट्रांसपोर्ट नहीं मिलती है. Genuine harassment is a problem everywhere. We need good transport, not only women but men need it too. So I could see this idea कि हम पढ़ना चाहते हैं लेकिन माँ बाप इजाज़त नहीं दे रहे, उनके पास पैसे नहीं हैं या वो कहते हैं जल्दी शादियाँ कर लो. So those conversations really also built my identity, and I realized that I'm privileged and I need to give back. That is a sense that I have now more so. Okay, I'm responsible. I have a voice. I need to use it. And what I can do is I can give back. जो मैंने सीखा है मैं सिखा सकती हूँ लोगों को. I don't have a magic pill, but I can somehow give you those tools or shake you up and say, you know what, you have a voice. You can think. Give you examples. Change your perspective.
Okay, so this में जहन में एक क्वेश्चन आया जहाँ आपने कहा कि पैसे नहीं हैं शादी कर लो एंड स्टफ. सो डू यू थिंक कि जो गर्ल एजुकेशन का प्रॉब्लम है that has to do with does that basically have to do with poverty, or does that have to do with just this mindset of not letting girls get educated? So what I'm trying to ask you is कि एक घर में अगर उनके पास पैसे नहीं हैं और उनके पास एक बेटा है और एक बेटी है, तो क्या वो बेटी और बेटा के बीच में लोग करते हैं कि वो बेटे को पढ़ाएंगे और वो बेटी को नहीं पढ़ाएंगे? So do you think that if you gave them more money, they would be more open to educating their daughter? Because प्योरली इट्स लाइक कि हमारे पास इतने पैसे हैं कि हम बेटे को स्कूल भेज सकें और क्योंकि बेटे ने घर संवारना है तो बेटे को ही पढ़ाएं, बिकॉज वो बात है. Or do you think it's still not going to make a difference?
It's a mindset.
Okay.
And there are different variables. So financial resource is one, but it's a mindset. I've seen many very rich families whose sons are going to Harvard or LUMS and IBA or UET or whatever, the best of Pakistan. And their daughters, they are... they have just basic education, or their standard or level is not as much as their son. So then I'm like, yaar, acha, inke paas bhi paisa hai, so why aren't their daughters going to Princeton or Harvard and Ivy League? Right. Jo the best of the best. Or then you kind of analyze, okay, maybe the girls don't want it, or maybe the enabling environment isn't there, or their vision of life is structured in a different way, or what they've been taught over the years, that what their identity and purpose of life is different.
Yeah.
And perhaps their parents felt कि नहीं ठीक है शादियाँ करनी, which is fine, great. Please get married if you want to.
Yeah.
So ठीक है शादी भी कर लिया, but do you want to do something else? Education could lead you to places. So it's a mindset.
It's a mindset, yes. But that makes a lot of sense. बहुत सारे बड़े घरों के लोग हैं, उनको होता है कि यार हमारी बीवियों को पैसे भी हैं, काम करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, या बच्चियों को इतना पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज इट्स एंड इन फैक्ट जबकि आपने इस तरह भी देखा है कि आप मिडिल क्लास में चले जाओ एंड दोज फादर्स एंड दोज पेरेंट्स विल बी वर्किंग रियली हार्ड टू इंश्योर कि दोनों बच्चों को स्टेलर एजुकेशन मिले, राइट? सो obviously money is a factor for a lot of people, and लोगों के पास नहीं है पैसे, and obviously we understand that. That's the economic situation right in front of us. But mindset is a major factor, that there are people who will try to ensure that still they do whatever the best they can with the resources that and the money that they have.
And you talked about the middle class. The middle class is keeping this country alive.
Yes.
Everyone talks about कि गरीबों को क्या करें, उनके लिए ये कर दें, XY schemes. But it's the middle class that is progressive.
Yes.
Middle class में आपको लड़के लड़कियाँ पढ़ रहे हैं. They are job oriented. They are earning money. They're paying taxes.
They're working the hardest also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's a matter of survival as well. And when I was growing up, like I'm from a middle class family, the idea was कि education and then food. These are our two expenses. कि अच्छा पढ़ो and have food. Or entertainment is, entertainment उस वक्त नहीं पता था कि क्या है. Now it's a totally different thing.
Entertainment was just family front.
Exactly.
On Wednesdays.
या ईद पर आप एक दफ़ा बाहर खाने को जा रहे हो, या birthday celebration. And I'm talking about Islamabad in the 90s, which is very different from now. Less choices in Islamabad. And saving up money. That's a huge thing. My parents would always talk about saving money. They're like, no, save it for a rainy day. Save it for the future. And just because you have money doesn't mean you should spend it. I'm a great believer. Just because I have money now doesn't mean I should buy diamonds and a Harley Davidson if I don't need it. So I think that mindset also has to come.
Yeah.
That you have resources, but you should be careful and think wisely, think strategically. Don't waste things.
Okay, so my next question is so working women ka, what do you think ke unke Pakistan mein main challenges kya hai? And I'm talking about the working women. Unke kya, what do you think are some of the challenges that they have?
Okay, so a backstory is that my grandmother was a working woman. She was the principal of a school. So I had those examples. She's in Peshawar.
Peshawar.
Yeah. And my mother is a doctor, so I had always seen her working till retirement.
So your role models were working women.
Exactly. So for me, it was like, khawaateen ne kaam karna.
हाँ, आपके लिए normalized.
Mera normalized. But then I had friends jinki moms were, housewives and stay at home. And that was fine as well.
Yeah.
But I had kind of seen ki nahi, this is the idea or this is how my life is. So my examples were a little different. Also, I was listening to BBC and CNN. So that was also like a huge role in my life.
Yes.
And, all those dramas. So you saw women in a different way. So coming now, one, opportunities. I think women don't have access to opportunities. Why I say this is a lot of opportunities are coming through networking and reference. Women don't network for a purpose. Our networking is friends se milo, meet up for ice cream, tea and coffee.
Yeah.
Dawatein ho gayi family ke saath. But now it's changing. I see a culture, but still, what is networking? Who are you going to meet? Why are you going to meet them? I feel like that's one drawback or a challenge that women are not networking.
Yes, and I'll bring this up here. This is something, क्योंकि ना जो हमसे बड़े बड़े लोग थे, like our parents and then their parents, उस वक्त होता था कि जब औरत की शादी हो जाती है तो फ्रेंड्स भी नहीं, उसके बाद ख़त्म हो जाते हैं. There is no concept of a social life that is not connected to your husbands.
Yeah, exactly.
आपकी अपनी social life का concept नहीं था. वो तो अब फिर भी है कि अच्छा आपके अपने फ्रेंड्स और आपका अपना सोशल सर्कल. हमारे पेरेंट्स का भी जो था वो उनके हमने फिर भी देखा कि अच्छा अम्मी का कोई सोशल लाइफ थी, बट इट वाज आइदर इफ़ दे वर वर्किंग वुमेन तो वो उनका कॉलीग्स वाला होता था या फिर उनके हस्बैंड से रिलेटेड जो भी होता था या फैमिली होता था. बट वो दे लेट गो ऑफ देयर फ्रेंड्स और अब वो फेसबुक पे शायद उनसे मिल रही हैं और डिस्कवर कर रही हैं. तो सो नेटवर्किंग एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो बहुत दूर दूर तक अब जाके चलें उसके बारे में कुछ कॉन्वर्सेशन हो सकती हैं. एंड दिस इज समथिंग दैट माई सो फनी बट माई हस्बैंड पॉइंटेड आउट टू मी. ही सेड हम ना तुम लोग नेटवर्क क्यों नहीं करते हो? लाइक सिर्फ ठीक है इट्स गुड बट वाई डोंट यू गो एंड लाइक मीट अदर women and other people and talk to them for the sake of growth and for the sake of learning and this and that. Like why is it just just like to chill or to hang out? And he says there's nothing wrong with that. That's very healthy and that's very important as well. But ये भी तो एक चीज़ होती है जो कि for men it's a very common and normal.
It's a very natural. They've taken for granted.
In fact, even the conversations मैं देखती हूँ कि जब औरतें बैठी होती हैं और मर्द बैठे होते हैं तो जो उनकी कॉन्वर्सेशंस होती हैं बहुत डिफरेंट हैं. वो अगर अपने वो कहीं भी जाके किसी भी ग्रुप ऑफ लोगों में जाके बैठेंगे ना तो दे विल टेक इट एज अ नेटवर्किंग एक्सरसाइज, बट वी सॉर्ट ऑफ डोंट women don't sort of end up doing that. And it's an interesting thing that you brought that up as well. Why? And then in one of my previous podcasts I said, women, even working women, when they're sitting together, they hardly talk to each other about the work that they're doing, the technology they're working on the work, and they all know so much that they can possibly and probably share with each other that can help all of them sort of grow and understand so much. But उस तरह की conversation for some reason हमने सीखी नहीं, की नहीं.
True. Yeah, हमने again you have to learn this. You have to know the purpose, the agenda. Who do you meet? When do you meet? What do you say? The other thing here in this whole networking is, for instance, real estate की बातें, women don't do that. अब हो रही हैं, like I get these messages and people like we're house hunting, and then I say अच्छा you know what, एक group है Facebook में, उधर आप लगाए, or I say okay you know what, I'm going to ask my father or my brother or the male peers because I know
they know हाँ, क्योंकि जब वो बैठते हैं
तो ये बात
तो ये इस तरह की बातें वो लोग करते हैं.
इन्वेस्टमेंट कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करें, पैसे सेव कैसे करें, you know should we buy dollars, should we buy a car, whatever, ये उनके टॉपिक्स हैं. And women somehow are excluded or we haven't learned to navigate
or to learn to have those conversations. Yeah. मेरे अब्बू जो थे ना, I lost my father almost a decade ago and मेरी अम्मी को वो लेकर जाते थे हर जगह to these like real estate places or so, and he kept her very involved in इस तरह की सारी चीज़ें, like had conversations with her about that. घर पे हर जगह लेकर भी जाते थे, हर किसी से मिलवाते भी थे, और वो you know kept her in that thing to make her learn all those things, encouraged her to do her masters as well. She's an educationist, बहुत सारी चीज़ें. And then he died and my mom just says कि उन्होंने मुझे, अगर वो सब ना किया होता ना, उसके बाद मुझे नहीं पता होता कि मैंने
क्या करना है
ज़िंदगी के साथ क्या करना है. और उन्होंने इतना, she said it's like he knew and he prepared me for every big and small thing that came my way after he passed away, you know. And she's like अगर ये सारी चीज़ें और and then she realized कि औरतों को नहीं पता होती हैं चीज़ें, एसेट मैनेजमेंट, फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट, इन चीज़ों का पता ही नहीं है. एंड व्हेन दे लूज़, Allah maaf kare, for whatever reason, if they do end up losing their partner, then they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Then they're at the mercy of a society that is going to eat them up.
Exactly. So if you don't know your rights, if you don't know the banking system, the inheritance laws, which women don't talk about these things unless they are confronted with this. Oh my God,
the inheritance laws.
You have to do a whole program on women, inheritance and laws.
बहुत बुरा होता है लोगों के साथ. बहुत बुरा होता है. And they are kept away from these conversations and they also feel like कि हमें क्या ज़रूरत है जान कि वो एक complacency भी है. No, women need to know and learn everything so that they're able to do things for themselves as well.
So, you know, the idea, women, for instance, don't have their passports with them. NIC original उनके पास नहीं होगा क्योंकि वो कहते हैं घुमा देंगी आप. I'm like,
ये क्या बात है? अकाउंट उनका सारा जॉइंट अकाउंट होता है या होता ही नहीं है?
बिल्कुल.
ये क्या है?
So I think it's very empowering if a woman goes, has her own account, she takes the checkbook, fills it, or uses the ATM, or does online banking. And I like that positive trend कि, you know, women are getting more access. So those are the things that I really want women to learn, or my hope is that financial literacy, which we're all concerned about, saving money. So we need to talk about these issues.
Financial literacy, yeah. We were actually discussing their issues. जिसमें पहला आपने कहा था opportunity, access to opportunity जो है वो कम है, और उसमें आपने कहा था कि network,
बिल्कुल,
कि they don't get to network, which is why उनको opportunity नहीं मिलती. So we'll go back to that. So
when we say opportunities, so there's a demand and supply के opportunities either तो है नहीं, which is fact. We are all competing for the same slice of the pie. So obviously, how do you prepare yourself for that opportunity? It means that you need to have the skills. You need to present yourself. You need to be those skills were confidence and public speaking. And knowing how you can add value to the company. Though you have to polish yourself. I want women to work, but I also want polished women to work. Let me go a step ahead. We need to give women opportunities, but I expect women that I'm giving the opportunity, I want her to be of a certain standard. When I meet girls who are totally lost and who are completely disorganized, I am very angry and sad because I'm like, listen, you watch a lot of Instagram and YouTube, अब तो कुछ सीख लें. You know, अगर घर में नहीं वो environment या university में नहीं है, आप observe life. I want you to have that ambition, that spark, which I sometimes feel is missing in the very few girls who I would see, because I mentor young women, so I get to meet a lot of girls, and I interact in office as well, and working life में आप बहुत सारी ख़वातीन से मिलते हैं. So I would say कि if there's an opportunity, but you have prepared yourself, then that opportunity will actually translate into something viable. So prepare, work on yourself.
Work on your, वही invest in yourself वाली बात है.
Exactly.
हाँ, work on yourself.
And then, okay, on the other side, opportunities नहीं है. So जो enabling environment है, offices हैं, government है, institutions हैं, वो क्या opportunities ख़वातीन को दे रहे हैं? Harassment policy है या नहीं? Transport is a huge issue. जब salary पे negotiation आती है, लड़कियाँ बिल्कुल कहती हैं कि जी बहुत दूर है आपका ऑफिस. Are you going to give us some extra money for transport? Because if you look at right now, a lot of our money is going, that chunk is going for transport. So it's a very valid कि भाई आपकी अपनी ट्रांसपोर्ट है या आपने कोई और सोल्यूशन निकाला है इसका. So those are some of the things, women, working women, because they have kids, so what options are there? वो बच्चों को कहाँ रखेंगी? Not everyone has that nice mother-in-law mother. ठीक है, they're great, but okay, do you have good daycare centers, reliable people? Are they expensive? I know a lot of women who are earning really well, और वही कहती हैं कि आधा से ज़्यादा उनका बच्चों की डे केयर पे चला जाता है. So we have to think कि women and even men, okay, let's talk about humans. You need to have that good environment where they're mentally at peace, so can they work most efficiently. So that sort of environment needs to be there. And then women, एक question जब interviews में, तो आप शादी करना चाहती हैं, कब करेंगी? अच्छा भाई, अगर करना नहीं चाहती कर लेंगी. No one really has that answer. But even if you have that answer, what does it mean? इसका मतलब कोई मुझसे पूछे और मैं इंटरव्यू में जाऊँ तो मुझे ये लगेगा कि आई शुड से नो, क्योंकि अगर मैंने येस कह दिया तो वो कहेंगे
जॉब नहीं मिलेगी.
हाँ, इट्स द सेम थिंग. ओ विल यू हैव किड्स और डू यू वांट टू हैव किड्स, और हाउ मेनी किड्स डू यू हैव, व्हिच मींस ओके पैटर्निटी लीव, मैटर्निटी लीव, कितना मेडिकल एक्सपेंस होगा. एंड those are the red flags.
Right.
And this is what the enabling environment, जिनके पास jobs हैं, they need to look at this. फिर work life balance, working hours. Okay, so in some places it's 9 to 5, many times it's not 9 to 5. Work is changing. हम रात को भी काम कर रहे हैं, सुबह भी काम कर रहे हैं, weekends पे भी काम कर रहे हैं. Let's be mindful. If you can, give people work from home, which works well. अगर meetings करनी है, if Zoom and Skype work, give women or men time to work from home.
Yeah.
So I would like that the enabling environment needs to change. The culture, HR practices.
Make it
inclusive,
easier for people to work.
Exactly. Why can't we have easy lives?
And actually, there is no point, because आप जब enabling environment नहीं दे रहे हो तो naturally प्रोडक्टिविटी भी तो उतनी अच्छी नहीं होती ना लोगों की. इफ़ यू वांट देम, इफ कंप्लीटली सेल्फिशली भी आप देख लो, इफ़ यू वांट प्रोडक्टिव पीपल टू वर्क in your office or in your whatever, then you need to give them a good environment to be able to be productive employees.
Exactly.
हाँ, फ़ायदा नहीं है उस पूरी चीज़ का, to give them an environment that does not enable them to perform to the best of
आप
their
काम
abilities.
करेंगे, सारा वक्त सोचेंगे कि अच्छा बच्चों को लेना है, बच्चे बीमार हो गए, अभी उनका होमवर्क करवाना है, वो इट्स इज फाइन. दीज आर द थिंग्स जो लाइफ के साथ हैं, दे आर अटैच. खाना भी बनेगा, कपड़े भी धुलेंगे, आपने होमवर्क भी करवाना है. पूरी दुनिया में होता है. हमारे मुल्क में ऐसा लगता है कि बस यही है काम,
बस यही.
हाँ, कि 5 घंटे बस हम खाना पकता रहेगा चूल्हे पर और बर्तन धुलते रहते हैं.
यहाँ पर तो हेल्प भी है, तब भी है.
हाँ,
आई डोंट नो.
सो मे बी हमें अपने घरों के लाइफस्टाइल्स को भी चेंज करना पड़ेगा. विच मीन्स कि जी सब अपनी प्लेटें खुद किचन में रखें. डोंट वेट फॉर द मॉम, द वुमेन ऑफ द फैमिली के वो सेट करें टेबल. भी आप खुद भी कर सकते हैं, बल्कि आप सेट क्यों करें, जाएं डायरेक्टली इन द किचन, गेट योर फूड, ईट, sit together and eat and then just put it there. कम बर्तन इस्तेमाल
करें, कम पानी ज़ाया करें और कम किसी एक के ऊपर काम डालें.
Exactly.
हाँ, right. So that makes a lot of sense. Daycares की आपने बात की. So my mother, वो पूरी ज़िंदगी जो है उन्होंने काम किया है, मतलब almost all her life. And उनका ये होता था कि but she was a mother also. So she was always like कि बस एक गिल्ट होता था, बच्चों को छोड़ के जाना या उस तरह करना, और वो नहीं था. So now she basically runs a preschool and daycares.
Lovely.
So basically जो Telenor है, उनका जो daycare है, my mom is running that for them. So she's like their vendor, you can say.
Okay.
हाँ, so she does this and she says, and उनका पूरा idea ही ये है that she wants to build enough daycares in this country to provide enough women guilt-free support
Lovely.
that they can do their work
With peace of mind.
with peace of mind. And उनकी कोशिश ये है कि वो maximum corporates के साथ काम करें और उनके offices में वो अपना डे केयर्स उनके लिए सेट करके दें और उनको रन करें for these companies so that women who work in these offices can bring their kids to work. And
I think we also this idea that we should have more women bringing their kids to work. I don't understand. मेरे ख्याल से मंथ में हफ्ते में एक दिन होना चाहिए सबको अपने बच्चे लेके आना चाहिए. I think it's very useful if kids see their parents working and interacting.
Yes.
And I mean क्या होगा शोर मचाएंगे, so what, get over it. Like 1-2 घंटे के लिए ले आएं, let them interact, let them visualize, let them touch things, let them pick up the phone, let them emulate what their parents are doing, because this teaches kids confidence. वो देखते हैं
bring your kids to work day.
Exactly. and I don't know why we don't have that. So again, enabling environment. कुछ चीज़ें हमें change करनी पड़ेगी.
So as a dentist, I was working in this hospital. और मेरे जो surgery department के जो head थे. So a lot of the times, because his wife was also working, and there were times when it was very refreshing to see. So there were times that she wasn't available or whatever. So har hafte, a few days, he would bring his son to the hospital, and he would be there and he would just be sitting there doing his coloring, or whoever would be free just sitting with him. So it's very refreshing to see कि यहाँ पर तो औरतों को भी मिलते थे, but he was a man and he used to bring his son because his wife was also working and busy. तो like they had a very nice, it was very refreshing to see कि अच्छा कुछ लोग हैं जो कर रही हैं एक दूसरे के लिए और normalize कर रहे हैं इस चीज़ को कि यार खैर है कोई बात नहीं. You know, like kids should not be the end of it for anyone.
Exactly. They're just a part of life and phase of life, and take them along with this journey.
Take them along with this journey. Not saying that it's easy at all. I'm a mom, I know. but yeah, should not be the end of basically your identity.
Bilkul.
Yeah, because आपका role being a mother, no matter how much of a big role it is, it's a role.
Exactly.
It's not your entire identity.
Of course.
And it shouldn't be, you know, because उस दिन मैंने एक I spoke about this earlier कि I'm almost 30 now, ठीक है, और मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी का एक substantial हिस्सा गुजार चुकी हूँ मैं. और मेरी अम्मी की भी जब बच्चे हुए उससे पहले उन्होंने एक सब्सटैंशियल लाइफ गुजारी थी, एंड she was a star of her time. Like she was like the queen in the sports and the president of in ICG, and like she was like अभी भी ना like अगर उनको अपने अपने टाइम के लोग मिलते हैं तो लोग कहते हैं तज़ीन वास्ती की बेटी हैं आप, because they remember her name because she was a thing, you know. और आप सोचते हो कि आपने बस अपनी माँ को अपनी माँ की तरह ही देखा होता है, you know, but उनकी एक बुरी आइडेंटिटी थी और एक वो थी आपसे पहले भी थी और आपके बाद भी थी.
That's true.
And kids need to know and see their parents as individuals.
That's true.
Not just as their parents.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that will only happen when you show them that as well.
Yeah.
कि आपकी एक आइडेंटिटी है और आपका एक वो है और वो, and I think fathers का तो फिर बच्चे देख लेते हैं. But mothers, when they get completely lost in that identity, or in that role, then they lose their sense of identity.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
So then the question is, how do we help the moms or those people who've lost their identity? What can we do?
Yes.
Is someone having a conversation with them? Are they having a conversation? Are they encouraged? Because people are not encouraged.
No.
They just see ke, okay, you know, you're a mom, you have kids, and that's it. And aapka bas kaam hai unka khayal rakhna.
It's the other way around. They're actually discouraged because the moment you try to do beyond that, there are tons and tons of questions raised on what kind of a mother you are.
Yeah, or your primary responsibility.
Primary responsibility.
So I have a friend at office. She's my colleague, and she's a mom, and she has this 8-month-old daughter. And she's like, she pointed out something interesting. She said, Yumna, when people talk to me and when they know I'm a mother, suddenly the conversation changes. So first we're talking about work and projects and, you know, meetings and proposals. And when they ask, when they find out she's a mom, she's like, all the questions are about child rearing and nutrition. And she's like, it's very different. And she's like, I don't know how people perceive me in the office. That am I working woman / mother. I was really, it was a flag, and I became more mindful and conscious that perhaps she's pointed out something, right? And she has that. And why are we asking her questions all the time about, how her kid is, or, helper aa gayi, khana kha liya, bacche bimar to nahi hai, vaccination ho gayi bachon ki. Like, kuch aur bhi hum pooch sakte hain. Why is that woman just a mother?
Yeah.
We can ask, okay, did you watch Netflix? Did you see something new? Did you read a book?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's good to ask about that side as well, but not just that side.
Exactly.
Of things, right? Like there is more.
So she was giving this interview, सब जो normal सवाल के अच्छा education ये वो life plans, 5 years, 10 years, what do you want to do in the organization? Suddenly when they found out she's a mother, and then questions just completely flipped.
Changed.
Exactly. So it was very interesting perspective. How women are perceived and what their role is. And I think now we're questioning ourselves. Perhaps we're a different generation of women, more socially conscious or digitally conscious, plugged in. The world's getting smaller. We have different role models. I think another thing, we talk about opportunities, role models and mentorship. So the whole idea is that you look at examples or you meet people who can share their experiences, and they tell you कि देखें, you're not alone, we also went through the same thing, but after going through those years we can tell you to do these things, or this is our experience, this is what we can give back to you. That's the whole idea of mentorship. We don't have mentors. So I was talking about mentorship, and someone asked me, who are your mentors? And I said my grandmother and my mother, and they said that's great. And then they pointed out, so you don't have professional mentors. And they said the same thing, that our role models are the women around us. But we also mindfully now should explore that, why don't we have mentors in our professional world? And I was like, okay, Madame Curie, who's a scientist, not in my field, but I consider her a mentor and a woman I look up to, or Angela Merkel, or and that got me thinking that as we evolve, we need to have professional role models as well.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so एक हमारी इस conversation में एक बात ये हुई कि so when we talk about women in the workplace, तो should it be, so my question is कि हमने बात की कि they shouldn't be treated differently from men in the workspace, right? Are we saying that?
We are saying that, yes, they should be given equal opportunities, and not because they're women, because they're talented, skilled people.
Okay, based on their skill and their
merit.
Yeah, and their merit. Like you said, they should be polished. Yeah. They should be of a certain standard, right? आप उनको उनकी उस basis पे equal opportunities दो. Makes perfect sense. And you said कि अच्छा one of your colleagues, she says कि conversation change हो जाती है when they know that she is a mom. And then we are also saying that, but we do want, right? But at the end of the day, we do want workplaces to recognize that we are mothers.
Yeah.
Right? And that we have certain, like, we are mothers, so we need the daycares and we need the maternity leaves. And so there's this thing that has been going on in my mind for a while, so I'll just say that.
Yeah, please.
Okay, we have a lot of this narrative, two different kinds of narrative. ठीक है, एक ये है कि मैंने कोई ad देखा जिसमें I think उस लड़की को जो हैं periods हो रहे होती हैं or something, and I think it was an Indian ad, and she is in some race team or track team or something of the sort, और जो उसका coach होता है he sees के वो अपने जो gym bag है उसमें से pads निकाल रही कुछ करिए, तो उसको कहता है कि listen, why don't you like take a break today, rest today. उन्होंने उसको बड़ी एक negative light में दिखाया है, where it's just like no, what the hell, I can run on my period, what is this? उन्होंने उसमें light में दिखाया कि ये क्या बकवास थी type. But then there's also that side which says कि listen, these are things and we need an environment that supports all of this.
True.
The fact that it's not when you are on your period, there are times when you can't perform to the best of your ability. Like there's this other side which says, oh, you need
a mental health day.
mental health day, when
Yeah.
you are menstruating,
So,
a day
yeah.
for that. So it's just like, you are confusing
Yeah.
everybody in what kind of empowerment are you looking for.
But that's the beauty. Let's have spaces for everyone.
Yes, makes sense, right? But see, so when somebody's trying to be sensitive about that, he's saying that, listen, you can take today off, it's fine. But then you have an aggressive response to that. Then people don't know what to do, right? So
Yeah.
it's good to have space, but then you can't confuse people on how they should behave.
Give a
Or-
disclaimer, then give a footnote and say this is the explanation.
Huh.
There is one side and then there's the other.
Yes, but
But it's your choice. It's a woman's choice.
Yes,
Or it's that person's
it's
choice.
the choice, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that if somebody, so I would say that ad needs to not do it in that way, because then they need to be like, if he's या तो उसने aggressively कहा होता यार तुम आज नहीं कर सकती हो, whatever. You can't perform on this. Like you
Yeah.
can't be the one to decide whether she can do this today or not.
yeah.
But अगर कोई आराम से कह रहा है तो आप आराम से कह भी सकते हो, no, I think I can perform.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
Right?
acknowledged, Yeah.
So I think these narratives, they need to stop being so confusing for
True.
other people, and the communication needs to be clear.
Got it? Yes.
Yeah.
Again, we are not mind readers. You talked about communication.
Yeah.
There's women communicating each other. Then there's the men and women communicating
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
There's people of different age groups in a working place
Yeah.
who are communicating with each other.
Yeah.
There is that power distance.
Yeah.
There's diversity.
Yes.
People with different languages and cultures.
Yes.
So communication is very important.
Yeah, like assumptions पे नहीं चल
बिल्कुल,
सकते, right?
बिल्कुल, exactly.
कि आप assume नहीं कर सकते कि अगले बंदे कर सकता है, कितना कर सकता है, क्या
बिल्कुल।
आपने अगर स्पेशली लाइक आप HR में हो या जो भी हो, आपका काम है, आपने हायर करना है उसकी एबिलिटीज़ के ऊपर, उसकी स्ट्रेंथ पे ऊपर, उसकी क्वालिफिकेशन के ऊपर, उसकी पास्ट प्रोफेशनल एक्सपीरियंस के ऊपर, इस बात पे नहीं कि अच्छा उसकी शादी हुई हुई है, नहीं हुई हुई,
Exactly.
बच्चे होने हैं, नहीं होने हैं. अगर वो एक क्वालिफाइड इंडिविजुअल है तो आपका काम बनता है आप उसको हायर करें.
Exactly.
और दूसरा आपका काम ये बनता है कि फिर आप उसको एक इनेबलिंग
Environment.
environment दें.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing.
Exactly.
And then there is free will.
Exactly. Your choice. You make
Yeah.
your decisions
Yeah,
about
you
what
make
the
your-
situation is.
Yeah. But and then women also need to know what they want.
Yeah.
वाली जो बात है.
Exactly.
जो free will आपको अपनी पता होनी चाहिए. आपको अपने अंदर self awareness होनी चाहिए that this is who I am and this is what I want.
This is what I want in life.
Yes.
You have to be the captain of your own ship.
You can't tell the people at your workplace, your boss or people what you should be doing in your life or anybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
हाँ कि देखो तुम्हारी शादी होगी अब तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि तुमसे ये काम होगा. नहीं वो कर भी सकती है.
I don't see women telling to men that अब आपकी शादी होगी. We never say that actually. It's never crossed my. I don't say that or we really hear.
Actually बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग उल्टा होता है टॉक्सिक मैस्कुलिनिटी में कि when I had a baby and there were so many ways my husband he chose to be very very available for me and for his child. मतलब उसका बेटा है वो सिर्फ मेरा बेटा नहीं है. But आगे पीछे जो मर्द थे ना, when he would say listen I just had a child so there are some things that I am not interested in right now or
I need to give time to
I need to give
my
time. Like
priorities.
इस टाइम पे मैं नेटवर्किंग नहीं करूँगा बैठ के फालतू की because
I have priorities. I have to take care of them. Yeah.
people were like what? तो तुम्हारा क्या काम है इसमें? तो तुम्हें क्या फर्क पड़ता है कि वो तो तुम्हारी बीवी का काम है टाइप. So उस साइड पे this is what they get to hear and इस साइड पे this is what you're getting to hear and you're just like
So, even with men, तो khawateen or role models or mentoring, I think men also need mentoring.
Yes.
I'm very worried that how a young boy is being men or the idea of being a man, what does that mean? Who's teaching them?
yes.
Because again, we're very patriarchal and things in our homes are also changing slowly. So what are they seeing? What are they observing? And if there's a 1-year-old child, a boy, after 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 years, how is he going to transform? And I think then men also need mentoring, and this toxic masculinity is definitely a thing. Now the question is, again, what are the men doing?
Yeah.
do they need help?
Yeah.
Can we give them an enabling environment? Do they create that themselves? Because of course, you know, they can be bullies everywhere, men and women. They can pull you down. They can make fun of you. बहुत मजाक भी उड़ता होगा. और ये है हकीकत में that men who, you know, if you say okay, I'm helping my wife, changing diapers, they're like, yeah, तुम्हारा तो नहीं काम.
हाँ.
या तुम भी ये कर रहे हो, you know, very negatively.
और बड़ा हाँ करके like my husband used to say कि जब मैं because I had my own small business, so there were some things that my husband just used to do for me, just to help me out a bit, ठीक है? And sometimes when he was at his workplace and he would be done with his work, so he would just do some research for me वहाँ office में बैठ के. And then when people would ask him क्या कर रही, he's like, oh, you know, my wife's business, I'm just trying to, and then people would make fun of him for that. कि यार आओ ना गेम खेलते हैं या फलाना चीज़ करते हैं, ये तुम क्या कर रहे हो? Why do you need to? Why are you taking your wife's business so seriously?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're surrounded with all these kind of voices, it's very damaging.
It's true. So it's your internal voice versus these external voices.
Yeah.
And it takes time, or there's a point in your life where you realize, okay, my inner voice is strong enough. And either you don't care or you become indifferent and you just kind of give everyone a shut up call. You're like, okay, just be quiet. That's it. You know, I don't care about your opinions. So keep them to yourself. वो वक्त के साथ आता है. Just to put people at their place या अच्छी तरीके से no कहना, उनको अपना बात समझाना, it takes years.
Yeah. And a lot of the people, like, what will they'll end up doing? They'll be like, ha, they'll do the ha-has because they're embarrassed, or वही वाली चीज़ है कि, you know, to be a man, you have to be like this.
उनको यही आता है, मैंने यही देखा है.
There are very few people who will recognize this as something so stupid to say and, you know, this is not right, you know, and won't respond to it or won't entertain it. But I think इसीलिए वर्क प्लेस कल्चर बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है. और आई थिंक आप वर्क प्लेसेस पे अपने इन्वायरमेंट्स को ज़रा बेहतर बना दें फॉर मैन एंड वुमेन, so that will really affect their personal lives even.
Yeah, stop making jokes that people don't get.
Yes.
You know, sense of humor is very personal.
Yeah.
Don't comment on ख़वातीन कि वो बहुत अच्छी लग रही हैं. चल, you know, just be careful.
Yes.
Yeah, but handle those conversations.
Yeah.
जो topics हैं, I always say, you want to talk something in the office, stick to boring subjects, stick to okay, even politics is now, you know, very personal. So sports or something else.
Yeah.
अपने बात ही करनी है. Do something that's not gender related.
Yeah, gender related.
And we can think of many things.
Yeah, we can.
But so yeah, conversations.
Yeah.
How do you address women? How do you address men? Even space. You know, when you're sitting, sometimes and many times I've observed and witnessed that there's a woman who's sitting and all the men would want to sit with her, and suddenly the chairs are becoming closer, and you're like, you know, back off, give space. And it's not just for women. Individuals.
Any individuals,
Yeah,
personal space should be respected.
Exactly. Don't stand so close to my face or my desk. थोड़ा दूर होके भी बात कर सकते हैं. So those again things to be mindful of.
अच्छा, चलिए हम वर्क कल्चर की बात कर रहे थे और वर्किंग वुमेन की बात कर रहे थे, तो इससे एक थॉट मुझे आई that one of the things that is women either supporting or bringing each other down. उस वाली चीज़ में बहुत सारी औरतें ये कहती हैं कि a lot of their struggle is because of other women.
True.
As well.
Yeah.
So what is your thought on that? And how do you think we can support other women instead of doing that? And why do you think actually women are doing that to each other?
So again, the state of mind.
ठीक है.
As we are growing up as women, we have all those negative forces, or we are just so forced to fight for our right all the time that over the years that habit gets ingrained, and you are very wary of competition, very aware of competition, and resources are less, opportunities come. Again, the apple pie is getting smaller, and competent women want that piece of the pie. And we've also not learned how to work together with each other. And there are times when I've said, even I'm afraid of working with women.
अच्छा.
I work with women. I love working with women. But then there are times where I'm like, all women's team, very interesting. Let's see how dynamics are. And yeah, it could be because obviously they don't know me, I don't know them. Trust, हमारे built in जो knee-jerk reactions हैं or our perceptions, because you know when we meet women we're very visual, so we're very judgmental as well. It's fine. कुछ चीज़ें कुछ हम परसेप्शंस देख के ही बनाते हैं. सो वी वेरी क्विकली कपड़े ऐसे हैं, बाल ऐसे हैं, मेकअप टू मच, ज्वेलरी दिस, इट्स नेचुरल. दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव बीन टॉट. We are not taught to look beyond appearances, to look at the intelligence and what that person brings to the table. Workplace में teamwork बहुत ज़रूरी है. We've realized कि if you want to excel, it's always good if you work as a team, which means building trust, respecting each other, not being afraid of anyone's power or their talent, accepting other people. And we're not taught that because we've been this girl child has always been fighting for that boti, for the milk, education. उस बेचारी ने सीखा ही है, तो वो जब बड़ी होगी वर्क प्लेस में जाएगी वो यही करेगी. So she'd be very hostile and she'd be like, इसका भी एजेंडा है, नहीं इसको मेरिट पर नहीं मिला, ये क्या क्या सोच के आई है, मैं इससे नहीं काम करूँगी, she'll get that promotion or whatever. These are inbuilt. तो ये भी हमें सीखना पड़ेगा कि हम टीम वर्क कैसे करते हैं, कभी किसी और को चांस दें. Make it win-win for all.
Make it win-win for all.
Even if it's win and loss for you, sometimes accept the loss for the greater good.
Take one for the team.
Exactly.
Yes.
आपको भी chance मिल जाएगा.
Yes.
And so the very few successful women teams, or we see even in workplaces, if you're very lucky, if you have a very good women nurturing environment. But the other thing is, जब आपकी self-esteem आप में होना and you're confident in yourself, when you know your ability, then you would be fine.
Yeah.
जब आप में खुद
डाउट होता है,
Exactly.
तब आप ज़्यादा easily challenged feel
बिल्कुल,
करते हो, और फिर then you are obviously your guards are up, and then you want to make sure that nobody is able to take your place or position or whatever that is. वो कहते हैं ना कि जब then it's about hard power. But जब आपकी when you are very sure of yourself, so then it's a very soft power.
Exactly.
And nobody can rattle you easily. And in fact when you are confident in yourself, तो आपको किसी के success या win से आपको फर्क नहीं पड़ता, because you are sure of your position and your success and your win, and it doesn't even matter if you don't win this one.
You know what you have to do, let others do what they have to do.
Yes.
And again, compliment each other, acknowledge अगर किसी ने अच्छा काम किया है, don't wait to be the last person, उसी वक्त कहें good work, and we're very proud of you, and do it publicly, let other people see that you've set a good example.
So I would say कि the better your self-esteem, the less of a bitter person you are.
Exactly.
And I've experienced that myself. When I'm not in a mentally good place, when I had my moments of self-doubt, and I have been through like times of very poor self-esteem, and those were the times that I've disliked people more, that I've wanted to prove myself more. But when I'm in a good place, when I'm confident, when I'm very happy with myself, truly myself, तो मुझे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता कि कोई क्या कर रहा है या कोई मुझसे बेहतर हो रहा है, जो मुझे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता. I'm happy. So you would say that if a lot of women are being like this, then maybe self-esteem is an issue with women. And we need to make more confident women with healthy self-esteem, who love themselves for who they are, whether they are pretty or whether they are not pretty.
Exactly.
And
it's all, everyone
who recognize their strengths, and are very sure of their strengths, and who also understand their weaknesses. So they're okay in times when they are unable to perform as well.
And that's when you depend on a team member to help you. So I think self-esteem is a core issue for women, जो कि बचपन से ही destroyed रहता है, so वो चीज़, उस चीज़ को strengthen करना हमारे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है. And I think that's a huge part of the mentorship that you do. This reminds me of another thing I read recently on the confidence gap between men and women. I don't know if you've heard about it, but उसमें ये था, उसकी एक एग्जाम्पल ये थी कि अगर आप
एक जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी है, ठीक है, और उसमें उन्होंने ले डाउन किया हुआ है द क्राइटेरिया और द जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन, द क्राइटेरिया एंड क्वालिफिकेशन एंड द जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन. सो जनरली लड़कों का कॉन्फिडेंस और सेल्फ इस्टीम बेहतर होती है, विच इज़ वाई इवन इफ दे डोंट फिट इवन हाफ ऑफ द क्राइटेरिया दे विल अप्लाई फॉर द जॉब. Women, if they fit even 80% of the criteria, they will say, oh, I can't do this. And they won't apply for the job. So it is that confidence that is stopping them from the opportunities that are in front of them. And so we need more confident women. And we need to raise and mentor more confident women. And that might change a lot of things.
So, there's the imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
You're not good enough. Or people will laugh, or you'll fail, or what was the whole point? Sometimes it's not always the end goal, it's also the process. The process teaches you a lot of things.
A lot of things,
And then the key question, how do you build successful or confident women? Where does that come from? It's the enabling environment, the parents. If you make a mistake, it's fine. You'll make another mistake, that's still fine, but that's a process you learn. Having your own strengths. And everyone has strengths, you just haven't found it yet. Or you haven't played to it, or you need to nurture it so that strength becomes even a better asset.
Yes, makes sense. Right. And then, so one of the things that you wanted to discuss here was the subsets of working women. So what you're saying is that there are different kinds of working women. Okay, what do you mean by that?
So, in the spectrum of women, we're talking about ageism. We have young women entering the work field, recent grads, and then you have women who are in senior positions, 30s and 40s and 50s. Although when I see the workplace, I see less of 50s and 60s. And that's just my observation. I could be totally wrong. Again, I work in a different sector. But that's to be mindful of, that are women in their 50s, 60s or 40s dropping out for some reason? Or they from working in a corporate office or a job, they thought, okay, I'm going to start my own business. Have they gone filtered out somewhere? Are they pursuing a second career, academia? So when I talk about the different subsets of women, it's about that ageism, the age gap. Which is very interesting because in offices you have these cliques. तो जो young वाली हैं, जो recent grads हैं, जो interns हैं, वो एक उनका group बन जाता है. वो थोड़ी shy होती हैं, डर जाती हैं कि वो जो senior positions पर ख़वातीन हैं, whether it's senior positions or even elder to them, senior in age or experience, उनसे नहीं बात करेंगे. And it's very common. Like you will see कि सारे managers एक तरफ हैं, जूनियर्स बेचारे एक तरफ हैं, उन्हें डर लग रहा है, पावर डिस्टेंस है, हम क्या कहें, कैसे बात करें. एंड आई वांट दोज बैरियर्स टू ब्रेक, व्हिच मींस बोथ साइड्स need to talk to each other.
ठीक है.
So I am mindful of that, and if I have these young interns or someone who's new, I'll be, मेरे questions वही होंगे जो मैं अपनी colleagues से पूछ रही होंगी. आपने Netflix पे क्या किया, क्या उनसी मूवी देख रही हैं, weekend कैसा गुजरा. Engage them in a conversation and guide them as well. So that's what I'm talking about. And it's not just women, even in men, ageism, power play that's there. बहुत दफ़ा हम कहते हैं कि हमारे बॉस बहुत सीनियर है, हम क्या बात करें, or feel awkward, or we're constantly thinking, oh, ask a question, should I not ask a question, will I sound confident, is that too dumb, quickly think of something. That awkward silence. So that, and again, वो भी सीखने से आता है. You have to learn how to communicate with your peers, with people who are in senior positions. How do you talk to the president of the company, how do you talk to the helper, the guard. So that is what I'm talking again. And then we said कि there are women who are married, there are women who are unmarried, there are women who have kids, there are women who don't have kids. Let's be mindful कि हम ऐसे questions ना पूछें which are very pointed and kind of hurt anyone's feelings. Right. Or you say, oh, you're not married, कब होगी, let's we'll introduce you to so many people. वो भी होता है. And sometimes the intent is really good, but again, think of non-political, non-gender, unbiased subjects. So that's what I'm trying to talk about, ki subsets of women. So, if there's, again, maternity leave, paternity leave hai. I don't have kids, but I want a holiday as well. So what do I say? हर वक्त तो मैं ये नहीं कह सकती, अम्मी बीमार होगी. मैं खुद भी कभी बीमार हो सकती. I also need to take a day off. So I shouldn't come up with an excuse. That should be there for everyone. So these are some of the things that we need to be mindful of. And again, older women, I feel like one day we'll be 50, then 60 and 70. Then we'll truly realize what it means to be in that age. And everyone likes everyone likes youth. If you go to a bank, if I go to a bank, the bank manager will treat me very nicely. मेरी अम्मी को वो कोई इतनी ज़्यादा importance नहीं देंगे. Although my mom's more richer than I am, but it's very clear that they know who to speak.
Yeah.
And they speak to me because I look in their eyes. And it's not my mom can't speak, she can, but I can see that shift. आप कभी National Saving Center गए हो? It's
कौमी बचत.
Exactly. And
Actually, I went अभी recently.
It's a great.
F10 में जो है.
बिल्कुल वो हर सेक्टर में नहीं. It's अगर किसी ने एजिंग को समझना है, which is a life process. You have to go there. बूढ़े बूढ़े लोग हैं, उनके साथ एक एक यंग आ रहा है, कोई साइन करवा रहा है, बट कस्टमर से किस तरह से बात हो रही है, very rudely, as if you know that. I mean, okay, they're in a certain age, they could be deaf, they could not see, their hands are shaking, but the way we treat them.
Yeah.
Or you know, one day हम भी 70 के होंगे, and young people will say, oh, old, and they'll just be very indifferent. It is going to happen. It is a natural thing. But
it's an assumption again. It's an assumption कि इनको समझ नहीं आई.
हाँ. And maybe we'll be a different older generation because we're tech savvy. So I feel like we'll be like, hey, you know what, young person, we're also on Instagram.
Yeah.
We know how to use TikTok, but कुछ और आ जाए. But that's also, you know, ageism, exclusion. कि just because someone is old, हम उनको नहीं कहेंगे कि आप हमारे साथ कॉफी पर जाएं after work. We'll be like, नहीं, हम बोर होंगे, ये awkward हो जाएंगी. भैया आप पूछिए उनसे. इंक्लूसिविटी की बात की है. सो
उसमें एज भी है.
उसमें एज बहुत या एजिज्म इज अ ह्यूज थिंग.
वैसे आपने बात की कि यू नो यू शुड मैनेजर्स और ये यंग फ्रेशीज और इन सबको एक दूसरे से कम्युनिकेट करना चाहिए. And how the young lot is afraid of approaching the senior lot. And I think कि क्योंकि उसमें power difference बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, professional power difference होता है because of their positions. I think कि generally I feel कि जिसके पास power ज़्यादा होती है उसको हमेशा अपने आप को पहले approachable बनाना चाहिए. They should be the one to take the responsibility to speak and connect first. जिस तरह हमारी जो team है यहाँ पे, we're older than them, most of the people who are working here. एंड हम मिलेनियल्स हैं, ज़रा जेनजी हैं, तो इवन तो इतना ज़्यादा फ़र्क नहीं है, बट फ़र्क फिर भी होता है थोड़ी थोड़ी चीज़ों में. तो वी मेक श्योर कि वी try and connect with them and know from them, and then automatically वो ख़त्म होता है. You can't, because they will always be afraid of the boundaries and the things they can say or the questions they can ask. And I think जो भी senior position में उसको ये चीज़ realize करनी चाहिए कि they have to be the one to like be more approachable, come down a bit and make them realize, oh, you know, like workplace power doesn't mean that we can't have a human one-on-one connection and conversation and can't get to know each other. हाँ, simple सी एक के बात है. Okay, so now let's talk about women in leadership. ये चीज़ें जो मैंने बहुत दफ़ा अपनी पॉडकास्ट में बहुत ज़्यादा लोगों के साथ डिस्कस की है, because often a lot of the women that I get here, they are in leadership positions, and I have been many times as well. So what are your thoughts on that? Women leaders, women bosses.
Well, I mean, I encourage women in all levels of the organization. So definitely, we all have agreed change comes from the top. If you have that power, you can make decisions and change policy. So if you have more women leaders, more women bosses who are conscious and mindful of the things that we've talked about, opportunities, spaces, growth, you know, good working relationships, good allies, good mentorship, then I am hopeful, I'm expecting
them to create that.
Yes, exactly. They have a responsibility.
Yes. आपको, if you know all these
Prove
things,
yourself.
and एक और मेरी पॉडकास्ट सीरीज में मैंने डिस्कशन की थी कि women do and actually should they are more compassionate leaders.
Yeah.
Because compassion जो है ना वो औरतों की strength है.
बिल्कुल.
And they need to bring that to the workplace.
Exactly.
That we have missed in a long time. And that is और वही जो चीज़ है जो वो कहते हैं, इसलिए women leaders are great for the future because they will bring that compassion and culture to the workplace that जो हमने अभी सारा discuss किया है. Empathy and के you know balance and enabling environment and क्या उसे कहते हैं harassment के ऊपर proper वो and just ensure कि सब free will भी हो, कोई हरास ना हो रहा हो, सब एक अच्छे enabling healthy environment में
encouraging, empowering environment for everyone.
So that's what we want from women, to bring that to the workspace. Interestingly, in another conversation, I spoke to someone and she said, that's what I've done in my time as a leader in her workspace. And she said, I was very nice to everyone and I was very sweet and very nice and very sweet and very nice. But then, they took me for granted. And then one day I had to scream and I had to be a total bitch until they took me seriously. And very interesting वो conversation थी. In fact, that's the latest podcast we just put up. And then you're a crazy bitch
You're on a power trip.
For losing your shit, and just में फिर हमारी conversation हुई कि women leaders, maybe because of their compassion or just because, I don't know, they're women या क्या, they are not taken as seriously. So they have to exert their power and be a certain way to be like, no, take me like seriously.
Exactly.
As seriously as you would take a man. और मेरी एक फ्रेंड है जिसने मुझे कहा कि हम ना, इट्स सो वियर्ड, लाइक हमारे सर्कल में हमारे जैसे एजुकेटेड लड़के और लोग, मेरा एक फ्रेंड है, कहती मेरा एक फ्रेंड है, वो कहता है यार मेरी बॉस जो है वो अब एक औरत है, मुझसे नहीं सीरियसली लिया जाता. और वो कहता है मुझसे, आई कांट सी हर लाइक आई सी माई अदर बॉसेस, एंड विच इज़ सो सैड. लाइक शी इज़ लाइक व्हाई, और मैं उससे क्या बोलूँ, नहीं तुम सीरियसली लो, लाइक ये क्यों है ना. आई don't know. It's just, maybe it's not a... Why do you think?
I think we need to have a conversation with the men as well. The idea of having male allies, or just when we say we want open communication, participation, I would really like to break it down and then have a focus group with the men. Let's bring the men. Exactly. Let's put this question. What are their perceptions? What is inhibiting them? Unke mindset kya hai? Is it because they're a woman? Is it a gender thing? Is it they think they're not good enough?
Or they've grown up with a certain imagery of boss जो कि सिर्फ एक मर्द होता है. So representation issues भी तो हो सकते हैं ना.
So you're right कि उनके एग्जाम्पल बॉस की यही है कि जो चीखे चिल्लाए या एक सर्टन टोन में एड्रेस करे,
हो या एक मेल हो.
Exactly. So maybe we have to analyze this. And again, mindset, perception. Seeing is believing. What you have grown seeing, you will emulate that. वही examples होंगी. Why can't we have a good drama on workplace? Why? हमने marriages, dowry, inheritance. Or
media has such a huge part to play in representation.
एक workplace पे क्यों नहीं? Why can't we have Myra Khan and these other great actresses, in different roles? हमने बना लिया script. एक CEO है, एक intern है, एक newbie है, एक client है, and talk about these things, which can be done in a very fun, creative, aesthetic way.
So it's a mindset that we need to understand why.
What are their fears?
Why is it like this? So उस conversation में कि where you have to be this way, then फिर वो ख़त्म हो जाती है room for compassion. Then you have to be like this
certain way.
You have to become hard. वो कहती है I always wanted to be soft. Now the environment is making me hard because that is the only way to get things done. मेरी अम्मी भी यही कहती हैं because my mom's been through a lot after my father's death and she had to get everything done herself by herself सब कुछ. So she is this this woman and तो उनका ये होता है, and I've seen her be really like put her foot down and scream her head off in spaces and get shit done and stuff. And so मुझे होता था अम्मी like, why do you have to be like this? Why can't you just like do the same stuff? And she would say, beta, you don't know
unless when you deal with people, then you know
what real life is like. कि जब तक मैं ऐसे नहीं करती ना बेटा, औरत को कुचल जाते हैं. She would be like, औरत को इस सोसाइटी में कुचल देंगे अगर मैंने इस तरह नहीं किया, मुझे इस तरह करना पड़ा. And ऐसा growing up I understood कि हाँ, like आपको at times you have to exert your power in this way कि आपको इस तरह करना पड़ता है. And then फिर again वो एक दो different चीज़ें आ जाती हैं कि when you act like that and then I don't know,
no one's happy with the way you act basically. कोई खुश नहीं है, कोई काम नहीं कर रहा, you use your soft power. No, you use
I
your
just
heart.
feel like the problem is कि extremes पे खेलना नहीं है. So the thing is कि my friend said कि I've been so nice and I've been so sweet with them. So I'm just like, listen, कौन कह रहा है extra nice or sweet हो? Remove the extra nice and sweet
Yeah, just
words in
be-
your language.
Exactly.
Be as any man would be.
Yeah,
In his
exactly.
normal tone. The problem is कि when you are being extra nice and sweet because the society told women to be, that's how they should be, कि sweet और nice ही होना है, तो जाहिर है लोग कुछ लेंगे ना. तो if you are the boss, say things like a boss does. That doesn't make you mean.
Exactly. Be a professional.
Be a professional.
Yeah,
You
so-
don't have to be like sweet.
Exactly.
Ah.
Agreed.
And that doesn't mean you're not being compassionate. They're two
Exactly.
different things.
Exactly.
So maintaining that balance, that and really, I think it's so important that if the boss is able to ensure healthy boundaries and professional boundaries in a workplace, then everybody will.
Yeah.
You're the one who sets that.
The tone and the agenda and the law of the land.
क्योंकि जहाँ पर ज़्यादा स्वीटनेस और नाइसनेस होती है ना, वहाँ बाउंड्रीज में ब्लरिंग होती है.
बिल्कुल.
बाउंड्रीज के बारे में आपको स्ट्रिक्ट होना होता है. एंड बाउंड्रीज का ये मतलब नहीं आप बदतमीज़ हो जाओ.
बिल्कुल.
ना लोगों को ये लगना चाहिए कि बाउंड्रीज का मतलब बदतमीज़ी है, और आप एक तरीके से करें,
बिल्कुल.
और hopefully the world will listen. That's all I can say.
I hope that 100 years from now, someone is not having the same conversation. And they're all-
And I think hopefully less than 100 years.
All right, touch wood for that. Behaviors take a lot of time to change.
That's true, वैसे. That's true.
So, there's this. Again, let's focus on that 5-year-old kid who's today, or that 15-year-old, or that 18-year-old, or even that 25-year-old.
True.
Because in the next 10, 15, 20 years, they will be at leadership positions. Their opinions will be formed. And we are byproducts of our experiences.
That's true.
So, and environments. What sort of environment are we giving to our children?
Yeah. And
What do we want them to be? What sort of humans do we want them to be?
yes. And the kind of values and principles we want to pass down.
Exactly.
That's true. And हमने बहुत interesting like workplace को हमने
Analyze
or deconstruct किया and all the things. So that was very nice. Is there anything else in your mind, Yamna, that you would like to add or say?
Please ask questions. Do critical thinking.
Yes.
Don't believe apne padosi wala. Even your family members, they have an opinion, but make your own opinions. Have opinions based on evidence, research, some thinking. हर एक की बात नहीं सुननी आपने. Think and then make your opinions. Use your brains, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, use your brains. And I think one of the things that we all tend to forget is that when we form our opinions about something, we form them and then we are not open to changing them.
Exactly.
So learning is great, but unlearning is
Even difficult.
so much more important. Okay, to really know, okay, I've learned this and I've understood this, ठीक है, बहुत insightful, बहुत अच्छा था. But there's always room
Exactly.
to learn more, or maybe learn a completely different side of the same thing. Yesterday someone said to me कि जब मैं एक चीज़ के अंदर घुस जाता हूँ और मेरा बहुत ज़्यादा मैं कोई किसी का ओपिनियन पढ़ रहा हूँ ऑनलाइन या कोई चीज़ पढ़ रहा हूँ ऑनलाइन, आई फील लाइक ओ दिस इज, एंड आई सडनली रियलाइज कि बहुत एक डायरेक्शन में है, बहुत बायस्ड है. सो आई क्विकली try to read something that
Totally opposite.
yes,
Yeah.
and then try to make up my mind.
Exactly.
Because any form of extreme opinion is wrong. वो वहीं पे wrong है, वो wrong है. अगर वो extreme है तो वो wrong है. So you need to really ground yourself and be modest in the fact that you don't know everything.
Exactly. And humanly you can't know everything.
Yeah.
Let's accept that.
Yeah.
Our
But you
knowledge-
can do your best to keep learning and
keep
growing.
learning, keep asking, read, meet people, network,
Network.
explore the world.
Explore the world. And and get to know yourself,
And
which
then-
is so important.
Then hence you get to know yourself. Yes.
True. Makes sense. Chale, thank you so much. I hope that there isn't something that I missed that.
No, we've covered it.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for making the time for doing this with me. I know that you're a busy person as well. सब लोगों का बहुत काम, बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं, and I know कि मेरी podcast कोई 20 मिनट की नहीं होती, 1.5 घंटे की होती है. So it's a lot of time that somebody has to give. So thank you for coming all the way down, having this very nice conversation with me. बहुत कुछ सीखा, बहुत insightful
Both ways, yeah.
and loved talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. You being mindful. Remember, it's all about self-awareness. Let's also be aware everyone's time is precious.
Yes.
So your time, my time, the people who helped set this up, from the person who brought the chai in to the videographer and the people who are listening. So
Yes.
I hope they learned something and, let's grow together.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and leave comments on whatever you thought or whatever you're thinking while you're listening to this conversation. Koi thought aati hai, please comments niche chhode. We would love to learn from them as well. And if there's anything you learned from us, then please let us know, because that's what keeps me going. So, and on that note, I'd like to end the podcast. Thank you so much, and Allah Hafiz.